is that someone recently, in 6 hours managed to generate a list of more than 4,000 toxins,
Yes.
which is like worse than the nerve agents available today.
Right.
In just a matter of 6 hours, they had
Right.
new molecules, new candidates
My
that,
God,
that
yes.
could be more potent than, your nerve agents that exist today.
Right, and the point that Siddarth made, that it's possibly going to be used in combat, it's already being used in combat.
Absolutely.
The IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, are using it for targeting. The Ukrainians are using it for surface vessel attacks against the Russian Navy. So AI has already crept in the first version of it. It's an arms race, an AI arms race. And Kanishk, since a lot of this is, it has eerie parallels with the nuclear arms race. Do you see a kind of NPT for AI evolving, where you'll have nuclear haves and nuclear have-nots? You would have, generative AI haves and generative AI have-nots. You're going to create a small club of guys who have this, the crown jewels of AI.
Specifically in sectors where there could be, misharm, it could impact people's safety, it could impact elections. You will have to develop mechanisms where you are controlling the AI doesn't become up to the next level.
Right.
If you get super intelligent AI,
Yes.
it will not rely on human feeds. It
Yes.
will do what it believes is right, and it is going to interfere in your elections. It is going to impact the human life.
Right.
What you need to control is where are these systems,
Right.
and what is the level of guardrails you are building against these systems. These systems need to be identified first. So who is doing that discovery exercise?
Yes.
Right? That is something that needs to be focused on right now, rather than making statements saying that AI can end the human life,
Right.
or it can erase us. The whole aspect is about how you build out these processes, how do you build out more auditing mechanisms.
Right.
You identify industries and sectors where AI should be allowed freely so that innovation can happen, startups can grow, and you identify sectors where criticality can be defined. So your thresholds, your levels need to be defined across sectors. That's why I said a single ministry will not be able to govern it. Today in India, we've got multiple bodies which are working.
Yes.
We've got the PM Economic Advisory Council. We've got the Principal Scientific Advisor's Office. MIT is doing. All of them need to collaborate. You might require an AI ministry. If you go to UAE, United Arab Emirates, they have an AI minister, they have an AI ministry.
Right.
Right? That's innovation. That's
Right.
something which is need of the hour. And I can tell you, as we move forward, the majority of the nations will have a separate ministry on artificial intelligence,
Right.
because it is going to impact so many other departments across the government, that it is going to be paramount, because you will have to look at safety, you will have to look at democracy, you will have to look at skilling as well.
Yes,
So it has
absolutely.
both connotations, right? How you keep people skilled, how you ensure the jobs don't die out.
Right.
Those are also going to be important mechanisms. And similarly, a regulatory body. Like you've got SEBI, you've got
Yes.
RBI, AI regulatory body which comes in audits different business functions or industry to say you are safely using AI.
Right.
That is
Right.
going to be the future, and that is something which is the area where work needs to happen.
Absolutely.
As
Safe-
we move forward.
So
Guardrails,
Sandeep,
yes.
to your point on NPT,
Yes.
I think AI is going to be far more difficult to control. I'll tell you
Right.
why. Because one, with nuclear technology, the technology was available only to a handful of countries.
Yes.
Now, a badly made nuclear bomb, the first
Right.
victim would be you.
Yes.
Right? It's going to blow you up first.
Of course.
And when you see a bomb,
Yeah.
and when it explodes, you know what kind of devastation it's going to cause.
Right.
Here, there is no visible devastation as such it's happening. It's
Yes.
all at a very insidious level.
Right.
A deep fake is a deep fake until you really, realize it's
Yes.
original, until you realize it's fake.
Right.
Right. So AI, the way it's going to, build itself, worm its way into our lives, is going to be
Yes.
far more insidious than the bang of a nuclear, weapon.
Absolutely.
So which is why it's going to be far harder
Right.
for humanity, one, to realize the gravity of the dangers of AI,
Right.
and then to do something serious about it,
Yeah.
and for people to come together to agree that we
Right.
need to address this.
Right.
That is what is going to make AI a much more dangerous technology for humanity to handle than a nuclear technology.
Yes, in fact, that's what this report as well it says. It says that they need to set up mechanisms to basically be alert to Skynet actually emerging out of the machine. Skynet is, of course, the self-aware machines of the
Yes.
Terminator. And I just want to quickly poll my panel of experts here. When do you think this Skynet thing, if you can call it that, machines would start to become self-aware? by this decade, by the next decade? There are a lot of predictions that it could take up to about 2 decades. But what's your guess?
I would like to differentiate between consciousness, the sentient being, and
Yes.
intelligence.
Right.
I think you can be intelligent without being sentient, without being conscious.
Right.
If you take simple organisms in nature,
Yeah.
they are intelligent, but they are
Yes.
not necessarily conscious the
Sentient,
way you and
yes.
I are as human
Absolutely.
beings. So could we create machines that are intelligent in that fashion
Yes.
without having a soul,
Right.
or without having emotions?
Yeah.
Absolutely possible.
Right.
And that's where the danger lies.
Right.
So which is why I think a lot of people tend to poo-poo this whole concern over AI, AGI, saying that, oh, but they're never going to become sentient.
Right.
Maybe not.
Right.
But they'll become intelligent enough to take control from the people who created it, the masters. That's
Okay.
quite possible.
Right. Sentient, Siddarth, sentient machines, a possibility this decade? Or
I
would we
think
just
sentient
have
machines will most probably come in by the end of the 2040s, for that matter. That may
Right.
actually be sufficient time for these things to end up actually develop to reach that. But I think just one bigger point on the regulation part. We've spoken a lot
Yes.
about governments regulating it,
Right.
but we also citizens need the rights to ensure that the government does not end up actually using AI against its own citizenry. If you look at any
Right.
of the dictatorships across the world,
Yes.
that's actually one of the biggest means of actually doing that. People have said that China has actually been creating this entire surveillance system. Imagine
Yes.
if that's actually by AI for that matter. That will actually become far scarier. So late 2040s for sentience, but much
Right.
before that, citizen protection from government is actually a greater need of the hour as of now.
Right. And, Kanishk, this point about governments and the people, the Great Firewall of China was mentioned here. Of course, China doesn't have to bother about elections, but we are a few weeks away from a national election, a general election. What is the possibility that AI would be used, given the fact it's already been used across the world? You have it being used in Argentina for the first time, both parties using it. And let's not forget Imran Khan issuing those statements from prison, where AI-generated voice, speeches of his were broadcast. What is the disruptive potential of AI in the Indian elections coming up? Is there anything that you're really worried about?
I am absolutely worried about deepfakes impacting
Yes.
user sentiments in Indian election using AI, right? So a big onus is on Election Commission of India,
Right.
how they regulate. The campaigning is going to stop 48 hours before the election, but the campaigning never stops on social media.
Right.
And if the campaigning comprises of deepfakes, if it comprises of fake news, misinformation,
Yes.
it is going to impact people's sentiment,
Right.
which is the big ask. So
Yes.
the regulatory body, which is Election Commission of India, has a very important role in
Right.
terms of ensuring free and fair and democratic elections to happen
Right.
in India
Right.
as we move towards the Lok Sabha election.
Right. Very important point there. Campaigning stops, but social media campaigning is on perpetual mode.
Absolutely.
And you think, Sri, there's a reason to regulate this? The Election Commission needs to kind of step in and stop social media campaigning. Others.
So the great advantage and why social media is a lawless land in some
Yeah.
sense, Sandeep, is the fact that there is no KYC on most of the platforms.
Yes.
There's anonymity.
Right.
You can, who do you go after?
Right.
If
exactly.
someone breaks the law, who do you go after?
Yeah.
So that's the great advantage of social media, right? I mean, which is why social media was called the weapon of mass destruction before
Yes.
AI came along.
Right.
Because AI is now the new WMD.
Right. Absolutely.
So it's very hard to control social media, and it's going to be far harder
Yeah.
to control AI, especially AGI.
AGI, and especially with the elections, Srinath, you see this as a problem with deep fakes, the kind of deep fakes that are proliferating. Political parties have been using it benignly, of course. In Tamil Nadu, there are a lot of political parties without leaders who are kind of using AI to bring their leaders back to life. But you see a deep fake assault on the voters or other political parties in the upcoming elections.
See, I've always believed that politicians and the political systems are far astute understanders of technology.
Right.
I mean, you look at the narrative
First
the last
adopters
10
of
years.
technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the way the elections and the narrative and the digital media, or how various politicians have adopted
Yes.
X, Twitter, or using data sciences for predictive analysis and what will work and what narrative, including what messaging to give. So the politicians understand, or at least bring in experts to understand this, because
Right.
it's a large narrative at stake for them.
Yes.
And also, we must accept that as a society, we believe in, I think the entire narrative of social media is thanks to all of us because we are very happily voyeuristic and narcissist. I mean, that's a genesis of social media business model itself.
Right.
That we love to say what we are saying and we want to know what others are saying.
Right.
And I think that's itself, it's a weapon of mass destruction for a political leader.
Right.
I mean, they get pulse on the people very easily. So AI, by the way, my belief is we have been using it in BFSI and other sectors for the last 30 years plus.
Yes.
On our mobile phones, we're using it right from GPS, Google's, and everything.
Right.
So it is not as if AI is going to come in and change our world, but it's going to accelerate the way how I would want to probably call it as an AI and digital addiction.
Right.
That it's going to change our lives far more impactfully than we can even control our narrative. It's probably worse than an opium or a cocaine addiction.
Worse than an opium and cocaine addiction. In fact, when AI burst on the scene last year, we began this series called The Dark Side of AI, strangely looking at all the fears that our experts here have spoken about, including the assault of deep fakes. Let's take a look at that series, The Dark Side of AI.
AI is more dangerous than, say, mismanaged aircraft design or production maintenance.
I think if this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong.
President Trump is a total and complete dipshit, like Jordan Peele.
But if a common man, he sees these kind of things, then they can be tricked into believing, yes.
There might be certain photos that it should not edit. There might be certain public figures that it should not edit.
AI has this problem of hallucination. AI has this problem of fake cases.
For you, not as an expert, but as a concerned citizen.
As an actor, I pretend for a living.
As if pretending that climate change wasn't real.
Streaming on News9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.